Good morning and happy Thursday, or whenever you're listening to this. Everybody, it is Thursday, June 19th. It is Juneteenth. And I welcome to Raven's Escape Crafts, or welcome back if you've been here before. I will get this intro right one day. I promise. I don't know. That's fine. I'm not perfect. My intro's not perfect. That's okay. So if you like imperfect people doing imperfect intros and you want to talk about yarn and other stuff and crochet, welcome to my channel. I am Sue, your host, and let's get to it today. So, update, there is some sun, although I understand I have not been outside yet. I understand it is ungodly humid and hot, so can't win, but that's okay. I'm just glad that the sun is shining a little bit and it's not so freaking rainy. My poor plants outside have been, they're not growing. I mean, they're good, they're green and everything, but they're not growing right because we've just had not enough sun days, too much rain days. I haven't lost any plants. My peas are crazy. They love it. Now with this hot weather, they're not going to like that. So we'll see where we're at with that, but hopefully. All right, so yesterday I showed you, let's talk about my whips. Yesterday I showed you these. These are my ribbed washcloths, dishcloths. So I made those for my kitchen sets. And then I finished last night. Now the ends are not tied in, not gonna lie. This is the kitchen towel. It's huge. It says 18 across by over 20 long. And let's see if I can get this in the frame. So this is, compared to the washcloth, which is 7 inches by 7 inches, this is the size. So these are really, really nice. They're really good kitchen towel. And my set, you get 2 washcloths, a kitchen towel, and a pot scrubber. Again, these ends are not weaved in, but these are my pot scrubbers. They're made with 2 different kinds of yarn. They're made with the same kind, but then they have like a scrubby candy cane colored yarn in them. And these are smaller, but they're still nice size. And these have that scrub yarn in them, so they can, if you're cleaning a pot or a pan, or even like your counters or sink, these are really good for that. And they're a double layer. They're super thick. So they're 2 strands of yarn, plus they're double thick. So they're really a nice thick pot scrubber that you can really get your hand into. But I like to keep them, I don't like to make them too big. Some people make them bigger, but like my pots, like when I want to be able to get to the corners. And I feel like if you make them too big, you're not going to get to the corners right, which is why I like to keep them. Like I said, they're a fair size. I mean, I have a big hand. So I can measure, hold on. I have a ruler. They are 3 inches across. So they're fair size. So my sets, I do 2 washcloths, a kitchen towel, and 2 pot scrubbers. Or 1 pot scrubber. You get 1 pot scrubber with the set. So I'm making 2 sets. I'm working on my second kitchen towel now, and then my sets will be complete, and I can put them up on my Etsy store for Christmas in July. See if I can if anybody's interested in that. All right, so that's what I'm working on right now. I'm working on my second kitchen towel. I just started it this morning, so it's not very far. And I had other stuff to do this morning, so I didn't get too far with this, but this is the first couple rows. Let's see. So, all right, so that we talked about that. Now, as far as I did want to mention Mary Maxim is having a big warehouse sale right now. I keep getting their emails if you don't get their emails. So they do have quite a few things on sale. And it's not just yarn. They have a lot of their cross stitch kits. They have a lot of embroidery kits, plastic canvas, quilts, puzzles, tons of puzzles on sale. And they do have some really good yarn deals on there too. So I was scoping that out. They have their Kai yarn, the Loops and Threads Kai yarn. I know Creative Grandma has a blanket she's working on with that, like she showed yesterday, that is like one of her works in process that is beautiful. And they have that on sale at Mary Maxim, so if that's something you're interested in. They have some of the blanket yarn on sale. They have the Vanna's Choice, the big balls, which I never saw before. They have like a jumbo ball that, if you like the Lion brand jumbo Vanna's Choice yarn, they have it in a jumbo size, and they have that on a pretty good sale. So hop on over there if that's something you're interested in. There's a couple good sales going on right now, but that one was the one I was looking at this morning, so I thought I'd share if anybody's looking for steals and deals. Yeah, so that's, I don't have a ton to talk about today. I did want to talk a little bit about, I should grab my crochet because I could really be crocheting while I do this. So the one thing I did want to talk about today is that I watch all kind of, I don't watch a lot of like regular TV anymore. I watch a lot of YouTube. And just because there's so many, like I used to think of YouTube as, I don't know, just like silly stuff or whatever, and conspiracies and things like that. But, the truth of it is there's some really interesting channels out there, no matter what you're interested in. People have a channel for it. And there's, some really, really amazing content creators out there that do a lot, on YouTube. Like, in fact, here's an interesting one. I was watching an interview with Rhett and Link from Good Mythical Morning. If I'm sure most of you have heard of Rhett and Link. And they were on, I'm trying to remember whose podcast they were on. I think they were on Conan O'Brien's podcast. His Conan O'Brien Has No Friends podcast. And I was watching them get interviewed on there, and they were talking about their journey, as far as what they intended and as to what happened, where they are now. And they were talking about how, I found this really interesting, how they, when they started doing YouTube, obviously, like, they started recording videos, they were in college, and now they're, they're my age, they're 47. And, but when they started doing YouTube, they were still like hoping to get a network show. Like, their whole goal was to eventually have a show on like mainstream TV. Like, like your CBS or Fox or whatever. And that was their main goal, was to get jobs on television or get their show on television. But they were talking about it, and they were saying, that was what they thought. They thought like they'd get on YouTube, make some shows, and eventually get their own show on network TV, blah, 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 blah. Well, they did do, I guess, a couple of different like network things for a season or so. Nothing that ever took off. But yet their YouTube channel took off and has been popular for the past 10 years or more. In fact, to the point where now, they said they never imagined in a million years that they'd be the CEOs of their own company, and that they'd have all these multiple YouTube channels, and that they would make not only a living, but like a good living off of YouTube. And it really made me think. I never thought about that before, because like Conan was saying, YouTube is the platform that all the other like, Netflix and everybody else looks at as competition. And I was like, wow, I didn't think of that. I never would have like put that in perspective. And they were saying, how basically like, a lot of people watch YouTube, a lot of people subscribe to these different content creators. And, your big difference is that, even somebody like say Rhett and Link, who now have like Good Mythical Morning, Good Mythical More. They have the kitchen, what's it called? They have their whole, Mythical Kitchen. Then they have, I don't know, they have so many YouTube channels at this point. But they're really successful. Their YouTube channels are super successful. And the fact that they don't have to answer to corporate BS, They are their own company. They're CEOs of their own company. And everything is produced by them, or their people. All their employees are their employees. They don't answer to, like, obviously, if you're on a network TV, you have to, or even like a streaming service, if this episode doesn't do well, you have to answer to the bigwigs. Well, they are the bigwigs, so, and they can do what they want, and they can, and, because they put so many shows out, like they put a show out every day during the week, usually, they can see like real time what's working, what's not, and adjust to it on a weekly basis. They have meetings, and we're talking about how they can do that, where, obviously when you're doing a production like for a show, you do the whole production before the first episode even comes out. And so you have no idea what's going to work, what's not. You can't change anything once it's done. And then, of course, the cost of the production value is so high compared to what their overhead is. Now they said they have over 300 employees at this point, and, in a studio, and never in a million years did they think they'd own a studio with 300 some employees. But, they actually have a better career, a better life than they would have had they gone on TV. Oh no, I think they were on Rob Lowe's podcast. Rob Lowe, that was who it was. It was Rob Lowe's podcast. I'm sorry. It was his literally podcast. I thought it was hilarious. If you've ever seen Parks and Rec. So, but they were talking about that. It was Rob Lowe, and he was saying about the same thing, like, how actors, even at his level, at his life point, you get roles and then it's over, and then you're unemployed essentially, and you're looking for your next role, where they've been living comfortably for the last 12 years and stuff, have a stable home life, which actors don't have. They have their own studio, so they have this stable, every day they know where they're going. They have their employees. They have, they don't answer to other people like actors have to. They don't have to go on auditions. They don't have to do any of that stuff that most actors do, and they're still making really good money. They were talking about how, obviously both of them are married for many years at this point. And that's rare in Hollywood. But they're, the two of them are married. They have a good home life. Their kids have a good home life. They, a lot of times they get to come home at night, where if you're an actor, you don't know what hours you're going to be working. You don't know when you're going to be shooting. You don't know where you're going to be shooting. It could be somewhere else completely in the world, where they know they're going to go down to, I think it's Burbank, where they have their studio every day and shoot their videos, and even some of their offshoots, like they do different places, but they can choose where they want to go. They don't have to. And I never thought of, until I was watching this, like with Rob Lowe and them, that how, like, people have like legitimately done better on YouTube than doing regular either mainstream TV or even like streaming services. I was like, oh, that's. And they said, that like Rob Lowe was saying, he's talked to a lot of execs and they say, like they watch YouTube to see what people are doing because that's where you get your trends from. That's where you see what's doing well. What are people watching? And it's serious competition for them. And I have to say, I mean, I don't deny it. I don't watch as much network TV as I used to, between the fact that, and I don't want to sound like an old person, I know. But, in my defense, years ago, you had a season of a regular show was 25 episodes. Now, some seasons are 8 episodes, and 10 episodes even. Like, and then it's not on again until next year. It doesn't hold your interest like 25 episodes does. Do you know what I mean? Like, when you knew like your shows came on around September-ish, and then they would run all the way until almost the summer. And then obviously summer TV sucked, They would run other shows or reruns depending what it was. But like you knew from like September all the way through until almost summer, you were going to have that show to watch. And now so many of these shows, it's, even the longer ones are only like 10 episodes, only like 15 episodes. I think there's a couple that are a little bit longer now, like 18 episodes, which is better. But again, like now they take that big break around the holidays and, and then like, let's talk streaming. The issue with a streaming service show is a lot of them, they just dump the whole season in a bulk, which is great. But like I have a couple shows I really like on Netflix, and they dump the whole season, so you're like, ooh, the whole season's out, and you end up watching it in like, let's say a week or so, sometimes less than that, depending, if they dump it in like the middle of winter and you're lazy, I mean, you can watch that in 2 days or a day, so that, and then it's not going to come out again sometimes for 2-3 years until the next season, which that's tough. Where I can go on YouTube and all the people that I follow have YouTube videos at the minimum once a week. And they don't take off, and some of them like Good Mythical Morning, they, for most of the year, they have videos out Monday through Friday, every day. And Good Mythical More, Monday through Friday. And they even have Good Mythical Weekend right now, which is on Saturdays. And then, like, even, it's a lot of the crochet people I follow either go live or, which again, when they go live, I mean, that takes it to a whole nother level. Is like, now, not only is this the person that you watch on your screen, because I watch YouTube on my TV all the time, but now I can interact with this person, and it takes it to a whole nother level, like a whole nother familiarity that you don't get with regular mainstream TV. So it was a lot of stuff that I never really, I don't know, I guess maybe I was naive to it and stuff like that, but I didn't realize, how huge the scope with YouTube, I know there's a lot of really big channels, and I know there's channels that get millions of views, like Mr. Beast. I mean, his stuff is like ridiculous. I don't particularly care for him. If you like him, that's fine. I don't like him. I think he's kind of obnoxious, and I don't like the stuff he does. You can say you can argue it. I just don't care for him. I just don't. But I do, like I said, I like Good Mythical Morning. They're funny. I like that I know that any day, Monday through Friday, I can watch a Good Mythical morning or get a mythical more, and I'm probably gonna laugh. You know, they do some ridiculous stuff. Some of their stuff is I don't always watch it, you know, every day, but I know that it's there. And then, you know, there's a lot of my crochet, like I have the, like It's Raining Yarn with Russ. He goes live every night around midnight. And if I'm up, because sometimes I have a lot of trouble sleeping, I'll put it on and there's Russ and he's just sitting there crocheting and talking, and you can, you know, you can type in the chat and he'll recognize you and he'll talk to you. It's really cool, you know. And I guess I didn't before recently. I guess I didn't see it as like the potential that it has. I didn't realize, you know, and again, you don't need to have like 1 million people following your channel for it to be successful. Because like, well, here's a good example. So I follow, like I said, my YouTube following stuff is about as eclectic as my music taste. It's everywhere. So one of the things that I follow 2 homesteaders. I just find it fascinating what they do. And one is called Homesteading with the Zimmermans. It's a woman and her husband who are former Mennonites, and they live, I think it's in Iowa. I think they live in Iowa. Don't quote me on that. But she lives they live sort of like I said, they left the Mennonite community, but they still, you know, they both grew up in the Mennonite community, so they still do a lot of stuff that would be Mennonite. You know, like they like to grow their own food, can their own food, they grow animals, they process their own meat. They do a lot of things. She makes her own cheese. She makes a lot of, you know, so she's always sharing like her garden, tips and tricks, this and that. And, you know, she has a lot of followers. Like she has, I forget how many, over 20-some thousand followers. Now she's on a book tour because of her YouTube channel. She got offered to write a cookbook. So now she's going around with her cookbook and doing homesteading conventions and doing book signings and doing talks. And it's really open, you know. She admits on the like she was always, you know, a stay-at-home mom. She has 7 kids. She has some that she's adopted. And, you know, and it was simple life and this and that. And she really just started the YouTube channel because she grew up in the Mennonite community where everybody is very close. Like you don't have much of a choice. Like the entire community is a community. And then of course they left the community for reasons. She explains it if you're interested. She has it on her channel. And now they don't have that community that she grew up with. You know, she grew up with a huge family and everybody was there and everybody did stuff together. And now she's sort of, you know, she still interacts with her family, but she does not live that lifestyle anymore. So they don't do things like she was accustomed to growing up. So she sort of started the YouTube video because she was like missing out on the community, and she felt like talking to people kind of got her back into the community. Like she feels like she's interacting with people again. And that's why she started the channel. And now it took off and people are following, like a ton of people follow it. And I really like her because she does, no frills stuff. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not like fancy. Like she's, you know, this is how I can stuff. This is how we milk the cows. This is how we take care of things. This is my garden. My garden's not perfect. Like, I love that about her. Like, you know, I planted all these and only this part came up. That's what happens. You know, she's real honest about things. And she's like, gives tips and tricks about making things, preserving things, how to feed a big family, you know, I just really like the way she does things. It's an interesting channel. But again, I mean, she started this to talk to other people. And now she has a book deal. She's traveling all over the country, talking to people. She's sort of like a spokesperson, and she's really enjoying it, which makes me so happy for her. So, I love that. Like, I never, I guess, thought of YouTube as that kind of jumping off point. I mean, I knew other YouTubers that get really popular, got all sorts of deals, like there's that kid that got super famous for opening toys, and, obviously like Mr. Beast and other things like that. But I never thought of it I guess I thought of it like sort of, how do I say this? Like, it's for like actors. Like 1 million people go to Hollywood to become actors, and only a small percentage actually become actors. I was like, well, it's like the same thing with YouTube. Certain people go on YouTube and their channels take off, and everybody else gets scraps and nobody gets anywhere. But I didn't think of it in the fact that there's a lot of people just making a regular living off of doing YouTube, not making $1 million a year, but making a decent living. Like, whether it's, just doing yarn, or, I follow these people that do RVing, and they said that this supplements their income, and like I said, and now she, Ruth Ann Zimmerman, she was saying, she never expected to make money off of this and have it be a profitable thing. She really just wanted to talk to people and share her knowledge and stuff like that. And now she's becoming successful and becoming a spokesperson about it. And it's like, wow, I guess I didn't, you don't think of you think of the people that make it, that have the millions and millions of followers, the people who like really make it, on YouTube. But, I guess I don't want to say other people, but I never put in perspective how many people actually come on this platform and make a decent living. Like, not, like I said, not millions, but, a decent living that they can live comfortably from it. I know Cinnamon Stitches talks about that on her channel sometimes, like how, it is a valid, it's a business, it's her channel. She makes decent money at it. So just an interesting perspective. And again, like I said, I really thought that it was fascinating when I was watching Rhett and Link talk to Rob Lowe about how much more successful they are because they stayed on YouTube and did not get a commercial, a network, or let's just say, or streaming show, how much more successful they are because they stayed on YouTube, and how it's really helped them out, like how they've grown into this huge company now. It's really fascinating. It just, and again, like, I love the fact that because it's their channel, they have complete control. Nobody's telling them what to do, I mean, obviously the viewers sway what they do, because if they just don't, if they do stuff that's stupid and nobody wants to watch it, they won't be successful anymore. But I think that's really cool. It's something to think about. It's an interesting social experiment, shall we say, where you give this platform to anybody that wants it, and then, you don't have to go through the corporate BS that, it's very fascinating. It's kind of like the self-publishing in the author world, but that's a whole other subject. So what are your guys' thoughts on that? I mean, it's an interesting social experiment where, I never really thought as in depth about it until I'm like, we sort of, with like YouTube, self-publishing, all these different social media where people get like, become influencers, like we took away, we're slowly nibbling away at the corporate power and making them come to the people instead of making us jump through hoops to get to them. It's kind of neat. It's kind of interesting. So, anybody have any thoughts about this? Or am I just like crazy and think way too hard about things that don't matter that much? I just think it's interesting. So, let me know. I'm going to let you guys go. It's been about half an hour and everybody's going to be coming around here for lunch soon. So, let me know what you guys think. I'm going to work on my dish towel. Hopefully, I can get some work done on this today. And I hope you all have an absolutely wonderful Thursday. I hope you enjoy some sun. I hope, if you have sun, I hope you do something that makes you smile today. Anything. Something that gives you some sort of joy. And I appreciate each and every one of you. I want you to know that. I really do. I appreciate each and every one of you. I hope you have a great day. As always, choose love every day. Bye, everybody.